Here we go.
Whoa.
We're live.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim. With me, of course, Sir Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And Dr. Squee.
Dragon!
I've just realised you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, I was just looking at
You're in
myself.
the wrong seat.
Go on, swap the seats round.
I'm not the only one who can swap the seats, but no, I'm happy to do it.
Very good for audio listeners, this.
Oh, it is.
There we
Who
go.
knew what we did in the video? You
Hey.
better check out our videos.
Yeah, you better go
we've got
check
to have
out.
We've got to have our feng shui right.
Yeah, you got to go check out the video now. But we are here to talk about In the Pale Moonlight, and only In the Pale Moonlight. Usually when we do these Dominion War episodes, we cover 2 at a time. But this being a pivotal episode and one of the highest regarded episodes of Deep Space Nine, we decided that this deserved...
I think it's not just Deep Space Nine. I think this is one of the top episodes in all Trek. It stands high up there with a lot of... There's a number of equally high episodes, and this is up in that echelon.
Yeah,
I
and
think that's fair.
When
I'm not going to get into a debate of which is the best or not now, but I think we can say it's a top echelon, and this is up in there.
Yeah, I mean, when each of the shows is sending forward their strongest warriors to represent their show, the best episodes, this is kind of definitely one which goes up for Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
It's right up there.
Yes, I would agree. So we've decided to dedicate the whole episode to it. We're probably going to get a bit more into the nitty-gritty of it than we generally do. But it's an episode that definitely warrants it.
I don't know if you noticed with the thumbnail, I've just done one photograph this week. And normally I do quite a few bits, but I just thought that one photo sort of sums it all up.
It does. No, it's... that actually, for anyone who's not had a look at the thumbnail picture, it is just Cisco direct on addressing the camera, raising his glass. And that does point to this is quite uniquely structured in terms of a Star Trek episode. Like the majority of episodes have a captain's log of some form or another. But, and I'm sure I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the only one where the captain's log is used completely as a framing device and the whole episode is effectively the contents of the captain's log.
And a lot of the episode is all the times where he's giving his log, he's breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
He is directly talking to us, the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is and he isn't. It's a clever... It's a clever way of using this idea of a captain's log. Like, effectively... He's doing what we're doing, looking at a computer screen and addressing it, and he's making it. But the effect on the viewers, as you say, is that
he's
it
talking
appears,
to us.
Yeah, it's very well done.
He's explaining all his actions to us.
Yeah.
And the thing, I think this is a very, very tightly written episode. But I did notice one, like, I'm only going to point it out now because, like, I don't want to forget it. And it's like it's in the grand scheme of this episode, a trifling point, but there's only one thing which I thought was a bit of a difficult sell of a line. It's when the whole episode is all about Cisco wanting a new ally for the Federation and wanting it to be the Romulans. And then there's this line where Dax got to go, it's like, wow, we really could do with an ally right now. And it's just way too on the nose.
It's forced.
It's forced. It's
almost forced.
If you just cut that line, this pretty much is a perfect episode.
Yeah.
I point that out to really highlight how kind of that is how fewer complaints I can think of for this episode.
One thing I do want to say just on the structure, and we may as well talk about it at the start. I recently read the making of Star Trek book written by the producers called Inside Star Trek. I don't know if it's still in print, but if it is, it's worth seeking out. So it was written shortly after Gene Roddenberry's death by two of the major producers of Star Trek. And as such, it's a very in-depth look at what went on behind the scenes. If you're a big Gene Roddenberry fan, it might shatter some illusions, but that's the risk you take. But one thing that jumped out at me there is when they were originally pitching the show, some of the pushback from the network was, are people going to buy this? It's a bit too far-fetched. Well, obviously, it's a space show. But part of the solution to that was why they invented the captain's log, and they came up with this idea of, well, we'll present it as though these things have already happened, and we're looking back on them. So the original concept of the captain's log was that, like the opening voiceover says, these are the voyages. So the idea was that we were looking back on it from some point in the future after all these things had taken place years before, and that the captain's logs were what we were reviewing. Now, see, your reaction...
It was like, I always felt like it was... We were doing that, but only just after the adventure had happened.
As did I, and I think this concept was abandoned very, very quickly.
Yeah, I think it's one of them things that you can use to sell to studio execs who don't understand things.
Yeah,
because I think not just with Star Trek, but I think you can look at the history of television, shows that have been cancelled, etc., and how shows have had to be sold to execs that they haven't got a fucking clue.
No, absolutely. And yeah, so remember there's episodes we've talked about where I've said, well, when exactly did Kirk make this log? Because because we're watching it and we're going, well, there's no space for him to have recorded because you always get the impression that the captain's logs are more or less in real time and he's updating us on what's happening, usually what's happened during the break that we've missed. But I
often think the captain's log sort of something he does at the end of the day.
Yeah, but it's like it's the way it's framed. So sometimes I think it is framed as if it could be made at the end of the day. Sometimes it's I don't know what I'm going to do. The Gorn keeps on stalking me, like in the present tense, and that seems like you could be recording that as you're moving through the foliage. But yeah, like you say, and it's like they'll be in the middle of a kind of like a face down with someone. It's like they seem to be soliloquizing about it. It's like
and he'll go captain's logs supplemental, and you're like, when have you done that? Anyway, but there are a few moments, particularly in the original series, where this original idea does creep back in. Like I think there's one where it might be the enemy within, and Kirk says something like, well, unbeknownst to us, another version of me had beamed aboard, and you're like, well, if it's unbeknownst to you, how come you're telling us? All of which is a very long-winded way of saying... I thought
unbeknownst was like, as in unbeknownst to us at the time.
Yeah, but what I mean is, if he's recording it at the time, how does he know something that was unbeknownst to them at the time?
Yeah, I thought he was recording it after saying that unbeknownst to us at the time.
Yeah, he was, but that's what I'm saying is that's one of the few times that this concept of we're listening to these logs that are recorded much after the fact came in.
Right, got you.
But what I was going to say is this episode is probably closest to how they intended the captain's log to work, because this is literally, I think he says, is it 2-3 weeks that we pick up?
Like, I actually went back to watch that first part again in case they very cleverly cut through him messing up his lines, because he starts where he stumbles over the lines and he looks like he's going, it's almost like an actor who's forgotten his lines when he's meant to be giving a number, which you couldn't imagine that happens a lot. But he actually carries it on in the same cut of asking the computer what the star.
We're losing you, Elliot.
Yeah, sorry, Elliot. Got some interference there. I got your point, though.
I can see you and I can hear you.
Yeah, it just buffered a little bit, but yeah, you're right. Like it does play almost like he's stumbling, and it's it's a difficult thing to act, I think, to get that across. I mean, as we've discussed no end of times, Avery Brooks puts a unique spin on a lot of things. So
I love his performance in this.
Yes, I do.
The way it is a sort of hyper-real performance, because it's like, it does feel like it definitely genuine, pure emotion, but almost in a kind of a large way that you wouldn't necessarily deliver that in the real world. But it's like it conveys the emotions so well, and it's such a beautiful performance, and that kind of portrayal of pain and anguish and kind of like moral uncertainty. It's all there. It's really a stunning job he does in this one,
and it's layered in an interesting way, because on one level he's been performative because he's doing it for a log, but he also knows that it's a personal log, so it won't be listened to by anyone else. But I would guess he also knows he's going to delete it. So there's multiple layers of artifice and performance that he's building.
I think he's imagining that he's going to send it until he doesn't.
Do you think? I never got that impression.
I just need to say, he actually says, I just need to say it out loud to understand what I've done. He needed to talk. He couldn't talk about it to anyone else. And he even says, I can't even go talk to Dax about what I've done. But I just need to say it to get it clear in my own head.
I think definitely. Sorry.
So I think all the time along, he started the log fully knowing he was going to delete it in the end, but he just needed to say it out loud to get it off his chest what he'd done.
I mean, I think that's definitely the kind of main intention, but I wonder if there was just a side of him which thought, and maybe he's even recorded this before. Like maybe he's kind of recorded and deleted it before.
Yeah.
And maybe there's the thought, it's like, oh, this time I'm going to send it. This time I'm actually going to do this. This time I'm actually going to expose what we did. Every time knowing he's really going to delete it. I just there feels like almost there could be that subtext of, it's almost he's poking the bear of his own emotions.
Do you mean like the 2 weeks? It's not the 2 weeks from when he first posted, when it sort of cuts into it?
I don't know, yeah.
I don't know if posted the first casualty list, or it's 2 weeks after the Romulans have joined the war.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I've kind of thought that a few times, because it could be that it's like the 2 weeks is what we've been watching over the episode, and this is straight after. It could be it's after a day. It could be after, the 2 weeks is what he means since the end of events.
Because the episode does play as if it be about 2 weeks worth of content there. Because they do say it's going to be 3 days for this, and it's going to be several days for this.
Yeah, but it's like, even if it was the next day, I could picture him just being tortured all night, just re-recording this log and delete. Maybe it's just like something he's done to just there are so many options of ways in which he could have tortured himself with this.
I've always got intriguing from how it ends that he's only recorded this once.
Probably, but I just think it's an interesting thing to think about.
I like that idea. The meat of the plot then, or what triggers it, is the Jem'Hadar have been nipping through the Romulan border to attack the Federation. It's very sneaky Jem'Hadar. And the Romulans more or less turning a blind eye because they have this non-aggression pact.
And the Romulans are also quite happy for them to go kill the Federation.
Exactly. And this sets Sisko off on his, I am going to draw the Romulans into the war, and that's his plan.
And I think he tortures himself along the way. There's the thing with Quark, which we'll get to when we get there, but it's like I think he purposely did too much there.
Yeah, it's because what I really kept track of this time watching it through is like the amount of people that are affected by what Sisko does. Because when you first watch the episode, it's the things that happen at the end that seem to be what tips him over. But every step he takes here is harming a lot of people. And I really found it fascinating, really honing in on that, because I knew we were going to talk about it. Like, just the idea that I will cause an empire to go to war.
I'm going to bring, like, the Federation at this point, we well into the millions, if not billions, of people dead already.
Yeah.
In this war, and he's talking about bringing another empire in. So you've got to be looking. He's bringing like, how big is the Romulan Empire? We've got to imagine trillions of people.
Exactly.
Lots,
and that's
of
it. So he's making that decision, even though it's for the greater good. He's already decided that winning the war is worth the death that will come as a result of it. But I think it's when it hits closer to home, I suppose. It's kind of that thing of
he's almost able to sort of like put the any casualty list for the Romulans aren't really a major concern for him. He's able to sort of go past that. Yeah, it's worth bringing the Romulans in, and he's justifying it in his own head, and probably rightly so, that once the Dominion have beaten they've already got the Cardassians, they're going to beat the Federation and the Klingons. They're then going to take on the Romulans, so there's going to be less death by bringing the Romulans in.
Yeah, there is a logic to that, and I'm sure that's how
he's justified starting it.
But Star Trek, the Federation values are always about free choice, and he's taking away the Romulans' free choice here, and he's decided to do that. He hopes to do it legitimately. Like, this plan starts off as, I bet the Dominion are going to invade Romulus, so let's try and find evidence that they are.
Yeah,
but
and that's what leads him to Garak, because Garak is the only person he knows who could access Cardassian.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And Garak stops him straight away and goes, "No, that is a suicide mission, and I don't do that."
Yeah, and
I can't help you doing that, but
and I think that's, like, we will get to it, but Garak does say, that's why you came to me. And it is, as soon as he decides to go to Garak, he is opening up the possibility that they are not going to do this in a legitimate way. And he knows that that's what he's doing by going to Garak.
And it's literally, as soon as he brings Garak on board and starts letting Garak do stuff, Garak is going to do the mission, but Garak is going to do what is necessary to get the mission done. Yeah. And that is another reason Sisko has gone to him.
Yeah.
He'll do what Sisko won't do.
And he tries to justify it in interest. Like, I'd forgotten how involved Starfleet were in this to a certain point. Like, he says, I've got approval from Starfleet Command to do this, but I presume Starfleet Command are up for it to the point when he goes to them and says, I've got reason to believe the Cardassians are planning, the Dominion Cardassians are planning an invasion of Romulus. I want to go steal the plans.
I want to produce the evidence to the Romulans.
I assume that's as far as Starfleet are good with it.
It's interesting. It could have been another possibility to bring in Section 31. I know you've got 2 Section 31 episodes not that far from this, but it seems like it's right up their street.
That's the thing. If he'd have known about Section 31 at this point, he could have probably...
Haven't we just had the first one?
Oh, we have. You're right. We've
actually skipped an episode, so we could do this as
and we didn't. We weren't doing the first Section 31 one.
No, that is the first one.
I thought it was the second one.
No, it's the first one.
Okay.
So we are going to go back to that, but chronologically, Sisko is aware of the existence of Section 31 at this point.
So we are
going to go back to the episodes.
But if they don't.
Sorry, carry on, Sway.
Yeah, I was just going to say, where they just had them introduced, it like maybe just not obviously overshadowing this one full episode, but just a little cameo from them would be great. You know, you could
that'd have been interesting.
From Starfleet, like they go, "Oh yeah, we intercepted your communication. Don't worry, you're okay to do this." You know, just something. Really
That would have been good if Sloan had turned up and just had a little.
Like high-fiving Cisco, going, "My man."
I mean, the reality of it is probably that with the episodes being pretty close together, the scripts were probably in different stages of development, and whoever was working on this one probably wasn't aware of Section 31 as a concept. And
I think to be fair, I think this works better not having Section 31 in it with what we know now about Section 31.
I mean, I think Section 31 would have been all up for this, and I think we can headcanon that they knew.
I was off to say, I think we can headcanon that Section 31 knew what it was up to, and Section 31 have also sort of gone up the Federation things. Yes, don't interfere with what he's doing here. Okay, this.
Yeah, let him crack on with it.
Yeah.
I would have been good. Yeah, I think it would have worked in here. Just again, a little cheeky cameo, but it's absolutely great without.
And I was going to say a nice little detail, not necessarily nice, but the fact that they give us a planet that we know that's got invaded, like Beta Z
I love
has been taken. And I remember reading a behind the scenes thing, and they said like we wanted a planet everyone would recognize, but we didn't want to just use Vulcan because it's always Vulcan. So we picked Beta Z, and I believe there's a TNG novel called like The Siege of Beta Z or The Battle for Beta Z or something like that. So I think I think if you want more
from what this episode says, I imagine it's a very short book.
No, it's your standard Star Trek book size.
No, I just I remember when I first saw this episode and I heard that line, and it was like it was a really gasp kind of moment. It's like that's Troy's planet.
Yeah,
It hits home, doesn't it?
It really it meant something. I like it when something which really cost you nothing in the plot, gives you extra stakes for very little extra expenditure, and you just mention it, and then later on in Star Trek somewhere you mentioned that it was liberated.
It gives that sense of a wider universe, even though I mean we've talked about no end that they didn't do as many crossovers as they probably could have done and probably would have done in this day and age.
Should have done.
But it just does give that sense, like you think, oh, Troy's not going to be happy about that.
Yeah.
And it just gives you that broader world to it.
Oh, I hope that story covers Troy's reaction to her homeworld being invaded.
Well, from what I remember of the cover, it's got Troy on the front with a phaser rifle, so I think she goes to defend Beta Z by the...
So we're talking her like from the late movies.
I think so, yeah. I mean, check out Memory Beta. I'm sure it's on there somewhere. It was called the Battle of Beta Z or the Siege of Beta Z, something like that.
By the way, can I just very randomly off point very quickly? But Elliot, when you lean forward and it cuts like you can't see the writing on your t-shirt, you look like you're in a Phil Collins tribute video. Isn't that or Holly from Red Dwarf?
Well, I was trying to go for the effect that I'm in the Pale Moonlight.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it.
So Cisco's body count then starts racking up almost immediately because Garak goes and talks to various people. And then he says they were all killed within a few days of speaking to him.
Within 1 day of speaking to him.
Within 1 day of speaking to him. So this is very quickly passed over in the plot. And I'm sure being Garak's mate on Cardassia, these were probably quite nefarious characters.
I'm thinking these are probably very, very, very efficient operatives of the Obsidian Order.
Yeah.
Or were very... Because we know that at this point the Obsidian Order's been destroyed, but these will be very, very top echelon operatives. If they've managed to survive in Cardassian culture and not been noticed for this long.
But yeah, I mean,
the spies and that, and Garak makes one phone call to them. I know it's not a phone call, but you know what I mean. And immediately it's bang, and we know how good Garak is at encrypting communication, so no one knows it's him.
And it's very subtly callous in this bit as well, because he says, it just speaks of the efficiency of the Jem'Hadar or the Dominion. Like his best connections, which he probably was worked with for years. They probably went to the training academy back on Cardassia together, and he's going like, oh yeah, they're all dead. Just not even a thought.
Well, he says, don't he? He goes, to contact these, he's got to use up every last favour I have on Cardassia. So he's used his entire contact network on Cardassia. We know in the end it hasn't, because he's still got, is it Maya?
Mila, is it?
Mila, sorry.
Mummy.
Yeah, but he's still got Mila's. But apart from that, we've got to imagine everyone he knows on Cardassia has just been killed in one day of him trying to make contact and sort this thing out.
Yeah, it's like, and obviously inside on some level he's got to be eaten up, but it's like he just tossed away in a kind of little joke. It's very much his training.
You've also got to look at, I think already at this point, Garak knew what he was going to do in the end. So he knew it was worth the sacrifice.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's justified it already in his head. Yeah, I've lost these people. But Garak is that sort of person that he'll go.
But it's like,
I lose 10,000 people, but I save 1 million.
You can almost imagine that he perhaps called a couple of people he didn't need to call, that he just didn't like.
You can imagine he did do
I can get them taken out while I'm at it.
I'm picturing, though, there's especially with the Stitch in Time novel and wonderful audio, which you can now get, there is so much in that about the training and how they are trained to just in the moment, just not only don't react, but make a joke of it, throw something away, make them think you're a character, don't make them see the real you at all. And there's just, it's perfectly on display here when he just kind of just say toss away in a joke about it speaks to the efficiency of the enemy. It's dude, and everyone just got killed.
And I think we can also
this actually speaks to Garak actually being emotional, because if you look at how snarky he is at times and everything, him being that it shows the efficiency of the Dominion. It's almost him showing emotions about these people being killed, because it's a different character. He's trying to be offhand about it, but
you can read him. It's a tell.
And I think the fact that he says it's all of his contacts, but then Mila comes in later, is not a continuity error. You could imagine that Garak's I'll risk everyone else, but I'm not risking her for this. This is the Federation, so she's not going to be involved in it. And then they need to get this Forger guy released, and Sisko has to pull some strings with Gowron. So straight away, again, that's another act of corruption, because you're releasing a criminal effectively. We don't know what he's going to do. We don't know what harm he could cause once he's out there. I mean, ultimately,
we really don't even know what he's done. All we know is that he's ready to be executed for his crimes against the Klingon Empire. Yeah. But for all we know, that could be that he served bitter blood wine to Gowron.
Yeah, it could be something extremely trivial, and the character is played with a levity. But this guy could be a nefarious criminal.
It could be
cause all sorts of harm if he's out on the loose.
Yeah.
I got the feeling it was something to do with his forgery skills, and it was just but it was the shadiest of deals, which could be about any kind of could be about weapons, could be about anything,
could be
poisons. Anything. And he would,
and he's almost certainly is something of that ilk. Empire.
It's not going to be it's not going to be a poisoning the blood wine, because it's it's going to be something really shady as shit.
But he's obviously done something against the Klingon Empire. He's either done something to try and do them out of something with a forgery, or he's been hired by them to do something and fucked it up.
Yeah. And this is very sort of Jack Bauer stuff, isn't it? Like, there were all them episodes of 24 where it's like, well, I've got to get this guy released because he's got intel on this, even though he's a baddie anyway.
Well, this is before 24.
I know it is, yeah.
And of course, Jack couldn't tell anyone about it, like his involvement, so he had to break into the prison for reasons.
Oh yeah, that'd always happen.
Yeah.
And then so the Forger attacks Quark, which leads to Sisko agreeing to a bribe. I mean, it's not the first time he's.
But it is interesting because it's like the guy's obviously just gone and got drunk.
Yeah.
It isn't that he's attacked Quark because it's Quark that he knew him. He's been trying it on with one of the Dabo girls.
Yeah.
And he even said some characteristically heroic of Quark. He stepped in the middle.
Now, give me a second on this one, because this is the bit which I want to raise. Sisko, I like to begin with, I was thinking this might be a plot hole here, but I think this is actually quite excellent writing. Because it seems like Sisko just gives away the farm here. Because, usually if there was some reason why Starfleet, which there's been episodes where they have to get around Quark or someone like him, and they always go on about, like, it's either, cancel my gambling debt, or, that thing which we got in the hold, we'll kind of put that through for you, or maybe that delivery which you've got coming in, maybe that'll get caught in being checked for bugs or something for a couple of weeks. They always use stuff like that, and he could so easily do that here. And Quark gets away with Latinum. He gets away with what else does he ask for?
He has something that's been held by security.
Yeah, security reasons. Sounds like really dodgy stuff. And there was a third thing which he gets. So he asked for three different things.
New clothes.
New clothes. I think after the first two, he was probably ready to give up. He's like, oh crap, I can ask for everything. Sod it. Could you get that through customs, that thing which is really dangerous? And Sisko does it. And I think the reason why Sisko does that here is he wants to punish himself for doing it. I think he wants to pay as high a price as possible for doing this thing which breaks his Starfleet heart.
Yeah, he's not doing this for, like, normally when he negotiates with Quark, he's doing it for Starfleet reasons, and what do appear to be the right reasons. He's not sort of like going against his morals, but here he's going. He knows he shouldn't even be bargaining, asking for Quark to give up, not to press charges. That he knows he's in the wrong. I got the same as you here, Squee. That Sisko just gave into everything because he knows himself that he's in the wrong.
Yeah,
I think there's maybe a degree of that. I'm not sure. I like the idea that maybe he's punishing himself, but I think maybe it's just that he's given up. It's almost, in for a penny, in for a pound, and he just doesn't have the resistance to push back against anything that Quark's going to suggest.
He's not arguing in the way normal.
Maybe a bit both.
Yeah. It's no fun. Usually when he's messing about with Quark, there's a part of Sisko that's enjoying it, but he's just defeated at this stage, and I've got to just give him whatever he wants.
Also, at this stage of proceedings, I did suddenly think this would have made the darkest Noggin Jake episode where they're trading for stuff. Really, there's two episodes where they do that, really, and it's like this would have been a really grim third one. It's like, so we'll give that guy some of the gel that can kill like thousands of people for research.
We're going to get to that soon.
Then we'll get to the lands. The lands, will they be covered in plague for the people, or what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And weirdly, I mean, maybe not weirdly, I don't know. Let's talk about it, but. It's at this point that Sisko says that's when I started questioning it, and this is when, and it's like, well, you didn't question it when all Garak's mates got killed, but it's this Forger. Didn't question it when you were getting someone out of prison that you shouldn't have been. It's when Quark. Maybe it's because he knows Quark.
I think it's. I was about to say it's partly because he knows Quark. He already knows he's doing things that are arguably wrong, But this is going against his own personal moral judgments that he knows this guy has done wrong, and he should not be interfering in what Odo's doing with arresting him, and he should not be bargaining for Quark not to press charges for being stabbed.
Now it's interesting. Sorry, go on.
Well, I just think you're both missing the obvious point here. So there are a lot of things going into this. He's already crossed so many lines. Most recently, he's just let a guy free who he doesn't know what his charges were. He's now defending him to Quark and giving all that in. And I know that all must be weighing on him, but apparently that was Quark's favorite shirt. So I think that's what did it in the end.
That's it.
Of course it was.
What's interesting is how the other members of the crew react to this. Like Odo, Sisko has a conversation, said, we need this keeping secret. And Odo's up front with it and says, okay, I can keep it secret, but if he presses charges, I will have to arrest him. And then you get Bashir, who has to be outright ordered not to give up this biomimetic gel.
Now, I wonder, this is out of character for Odo to let Sisko tell him what he's got to do.
I think it's a degree of trust with Odo that Odo's I'll let this play out.
Actually, I always have to go further because knowing what Odo's like and his contacts, and he knows what goes on and he keeps a watch on Garak. He probably knows that Garak contacted a number of operatives several days ago, and they were all killed immediately. Sisko has been meeting with him, so Odo probably knows that something very important is going on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
He's deliberately stepping aside not to interfere with it.
And it's also possible that Sisko has briefed him somewhat. Obviously, he hasn't told him what's happening, but he might have, let him know to expect some shit, basically.
I just like it in my head canon that Odo is good at, so good at his job that he knows that about Sisko and Garak's meetings. He's got a suspicion what they're trying to do. He knows that he's got Garak contacting operatives. He knows that he's had this guy released from Klingon space. He knows that it's important, and that's why he's not pushing back against Sisko in this case, because any other time Sisko's tried to interfere with him on how he runs the security on the station, he pushes back every time.
True.
No, I mean, I don't think it's too far a stretch to think the writers might have actually kind of it's all there, and expertly put together.
We've seen that so many times with Odo that he knows what's going on.
Yeah, I just I think it's the bit. What was the bit after this that you mentioned?
Bashir. So we get this righteous anger from Bashir, who has to be ordered.
This is the next part.
Before that, just leading into that, I was going to say that it's that bit where sorry, it's gone again. Shit, sorry, I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. It was a bit before that when he's after the gel.
That he has to get.
He's asked for the gel from Garak, and he goes it's almost performative by this stage where he says, no, I won't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Why? How much can we bargain for? He already knows he's going to do it, and it's the outrage is just almost instinct as opposed to any real feeling of outrage at this stage.
This is going to be the cost for the isolinear chip that you need to record this on.
Yeah.
For the correct data recording stick.
And he goes,
knowing technology that we have now, how small our SIM cards are, seems really large just for a short video.
But it's got that level of encryption, though.
It's the level of encryption. And Sisko says, right, well, the deal's off then. And it's like when you say, I'm not having another pint. And, he knows he's going to do it.
It's like, I'm not having another pint. I've just got you a double. Oh, go on then.
Go on then. He's got to pay lip service to it. I do like how much...
I'm not doing this. Well, the amount is negotiable.
And the thing is, he's gone too far now. He is committed to it. If he stops now, it's all been for nothing. And It's which I've read things about it. Like, there's an argument that it's like bad thinking, and you shouldn't think like that. It's like if
it's dangerous thinking.
Yeah, it's like if you're waiting for a bus and it's taking forever, and you can either go home or wait longer. When you think, well, I've waited for an hour, I might as well wait until it comes. When you break that down, it's not logical. It's no, you should go home. You're not going to gain any time by going now if you've already missed the thing you're going. Anyway, but you know what I mean? It's Cisco at this point could call it all off. And yes, the people would have still died, but there would be no more harm from it. Yeah. Whereas he decides, no, I'm going ahead with it.
And it's a sort of like it's kind of akin to gambling, really. It's like, oh, I lost all this money. I better bet so I can win that money back. It's like you can't, because if I get to like I'm paying the cost in all these kind of lives which I'm putting at risk. But at the end, the reward in life saved will be worth it. It's
that's what he's hanging on.
But you're hanging on to the fact that you're going to win that bet, and that's not guaranteed by any point.
I do like that this is very much season 6 Bashir, who's completely willing to dig his feet in and stand up to Captain Cisco without blinking, and make it clear how unhappy he is about this.
Well, this is another way we go up to the death count potentially. Like, we have no idea how many people could be killed by what Cisco's giving away here.
No, exactly.
I was thinking this could almost be like a scene in another version of Picard, because like in Picard you had those changelings which have been experimented on. This could be the origins of some other people who get killed by the actions of this episode. This could get picked up in Star Trek, and absolutely. And it would be a great catalyst for the Federation being the bad guys.
I mean, the implication is this guy's gonna develop a biogenic weapon of some kind, and that's what's gonna come of it. But at this point, Cisco's decided whatever collateral comes of it is worth it.
He's gonna kill one planet. I'm gonna save thousands.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other interesting thing I thought is it's when Bashir says, like, well, I'm going to write a formal complaint and put in grievance with Starfleet. And he goes, well, that's your right. And all I could think is like, yep. And the second that gets received by Starfleet, they just going to press the delete button. And that's that.
Yeah, that's going in the bin.
Well, that's right. Well, which takes us back to the episode that we skipped, where we see that Bashir is starting to get in with Section 31.
Yeah.
Interest. They'll be monitoring these things.
Oh, yeah.
And there'll be some Starfleet admiral that'll go, this has been noted, thank you, Dr. Bashir, and that'll be the last he's ever heard of.
Exactly, yeah.
It's gone straight in the shredder.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I kept on thinking of The Office, where like I think it's in both versions actually, where they kind of like go, it's like, oh, I'll just file that into my my filing cabinet, screws it up and throws it in the bin.
Yeah, exactly. And that is exactly what's happening with it. I mean, it may not even get to Starfleet. It might just be Section 31 gets it, and that's it.
Well,
done.
It's obviously going to be an admiral that knows all about Section 31 that's going to answer.
And Cisco knows this at this point, because he doesn't even try to talk Bashir out of sending it. He doesn't say, look, there's something bigger going on. Yeah, he knows it's not going through. Then we get Vreenak. And we get his famous line where there's been memes and... I've skipped the forgery, of course.
You skipped the forgery, where they're making the forgery, so you get... And I think this is quite clever, because there's obviously more to the forgery, and we see another skip a bit when it does get shown to the Romulans. But you get them talking, and we have this great part, and they bring it up again, just how great the cat was.
There we go.
I really enjoyed the fact that they're very economical, the way they edited it. So you go straight into this scene, which is it's so characterful. It's the perfect way in which you do sell it. You have this moment where it's like it's nothing relevant to what they want them to hear.
Yeah.
So it adds texture to it, and it looks more like it's a real situation.
Well, and then you get that little bit of talk, don't you, between Garrick and Cisco
because you don't want
adding that in.
Exactly, and you don't want it to be perfect, because if it's perfectly just talking about the subject you want it to talk about, it obviously looks like a fake.
Yeah.
If you put texture and reality to it, it's a really great idea. And
No, I mean,
I just thought that it's like, and then you get to show a little bit more of it later, and you don't waste any time watching a whole thing which we already know.
I mean, you've got to imagine they've put together, like, they've made this look like it's the weekly briefing. So there's probably, if not hours, certainly, like, meetings tend to last about an hour. So they've maybe got half an hour of, the sanitation system in District 7's been a bit down. And we've had a bit of civil unrest over here and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, just to get to that little bit.
Yeah, and you have to add all sorts of reports of what military actions have taken place all around on the day it's meant to be recorded, and they all have to match up properly and allowing for time of communications. And
now this is this is the first time I've noticed it this episode. Towards the end of that scene, Garak says to the Forger guy, he says, "I'll be around to say hello later," and that's when he goes and kills him, I think.
It is.
He's just saying, he's more or less telling him, "I'm going to come and kill you later tonight."
I couldn't remember like what he did with him, but when I did clock that moment, it was like, right, he's either going to go and shaft him or he's going to let him free, because that's kind of part of their deal, and like to keep him as an informant. But yeah, I knew there was something was afoot at that.
It's the first time I've picked up on it.
But that's obviously I picked up on it this time. It's like the same as you, and that's obviously when he got killed, but nothing's said until the end.
Not until the very end. Yeah, he's obviously just disappeared, and Cisco don't know. But then it's like, right. Vreenak.
Which also actually, arguably, because Garak does know what this guy's done, even though we never get it quite revealed to us. Garak is potentially saving even more lives by killing him, so he's not going to be doing more shady shenanigans later.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's kind of clearing up his own mess.
So we've got a negative value now on the death count.
Yeah,
and who knows? Maybe Garak killed the biomimetic gel guy as well. Who knows?
I think there must be some plan in that. I can't believe.
I can't believe Garak could just let that go out. I imagine.
I
imagine Garak has dealt with. Cisco doesn't even know who that was. It's just somebody that Garak's got to trade with.
That's true, because that guy will know that Garak bought a rod. So, he probably has taken care of that.
He has to. Garak has cleaned up all the loose ends.
Yeah, it's a loose end.
So also, it wouldn't surprise me if the biomimetic gel is somewhere in Garak's
I was going to say that.
Shop.
I was going to say, I bet he engineers it so somehow he ends up with that for a rainy day solution.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he won't give it back, but he'll probably make sure it's not on the market, but not through altruism,
it's not on the market, but that guy that he bought that rod off is dead.
Yes.
But we never find out who that guy is. That happens off screen. But what happens to everyone else that Garak deals with in this? That guy is gone.
So,
no loose ends.
Vreenak, and I'm not going to try and say it the way he says it, but it does almost bring you out of the episode the way he says it's a fake, and he holds up the thing. And I know there's been a million memes, but
like we have all the digs and all that pressed from him, don't we? And he's just got
that's fun.
And he's just having a go at Cisco, and Garak warns him. And this is also where Garak goes and sabotages the shuttle.
Yes, he does.
Guys,
you can
really
see
sorry
that.
to interrupt. I'm just going to have to quickly pop out with Willow. She keeps on going to the door, so just in case, be 1 second.
Okay.
Right.
Carry on.
Right. Because what I always have said is like the part before we get to that where Ryok, is it? Vreenak says his line. You've got where the shuttle first lands, and Cisco again has cleared out an area so no one even knows that they're
and that's fun. that's fun seeing it arrive cloaked and the thing comes down even though there's nothing there. Yeah, that's good fun.
But what's interesting here is just before it lands and all that, because Sisko's cleared away the security, just close off the area, keep these areas. No one is allowed in apart from me and Garrick. Full stop. But Garrick turns around Sisko and goes, right, I'm off to go look at the shuttle.
Yeah.
See if they've got any intel. And Sisko at this point is giving into anything Garrick says. There's no even pushback apart from don't get caught.
Yeah, that's it. He's let Garrick off his leash now, hasn't he?
He's given up. But this is the point where Garrick comes up with an excuse to Sisko. I'm going to see if they've got anything on their computers, good intel that we can use. And Sisko just lets him, and Sisko wouldn't normally let him do something like this.
No, he wouldn't. Even Sisko is just at the start of the episode would be like, look, this is what we're doing. You're not doing anything.
But at this point, Sisko is so in, he's just letting Garrick do what he wants.
Yeah.
He's not even pushing back, and Garrick has realised this, and that's when he takes this opportunity. And to be fair, if Sisko had been pushing back more on him throughout the episode and had been fighting about stuff, Garrick would have still gone on the shuttle to do his sabotage.
He would, absolutely.
But he'd have done it without Sisko even knowing he was going to go on board the shuttle.
Yeah.
At least he's let Sisko know he's going on the shuttle.
That's true. And maybe that's part of why Sisko's so angry with him at the end, because if he had have pushed back more, Garrick would have still done it all, but he'd have done it in secret. Whereas Sisko knows that he has enabled this and he has allowed it to happen.
He's gone, okay, just don't get caught.
Yeah. Something I wanted to ask you, Elliot, because Sisko talks about his dad and he says, worrying the doubts are the enemies of a great chef. So as a chef, would you agree that worry and doubt are the enemies of a great chef?
Yeah.
Yes, there we go then. So Sisko's dad was very wise.
I know it's going to taste good. And you're going psyched up and know that you're going to have a great service.
There we go then.
And when you're in a big brigade, you almost egg each other on through a great service. It's very militaristic as a proper production kitchen.
So Sisko's dad was wise passing this knowledge on then. Okay. Then we get to basically the wrap-up of the episode. Sisko thinks it's all gone wrong until we find out Vreenak's dead, the other guy's dead.
We only find out the other guy's... We only find out the other guy's dead when he beats up Garrick.
Yes, true.
But that's a hell of a backhander.
Yeah.
All he does is go like that, and he sends Garrick across the room.
Oh, before we get even there, I would like to, the bit which I've never really thought about before, but imagine that scene from the point of view when he finds out, like when he works out that what Garrick's done. Imagine it from the point, no. Imagine the bit where he goes, like where he gets told the report that the Romulan's dead, so he knows what's happened. Imagine that from the point of view of Julian and Dax. Basically, they're going, great, so they're going to be joining the war, like everything's saved. And then Sisko goes off in a panic. I would be worried shitless, because if Sisko does that, you know something's gone drastically wrong. Like, they don't know everything else that's going on. So they must think, it's like, fuck, like, what's he know that we don't? How fucked are we?
Exactly.
What's going to happen in the war? You know, you'd be shitting yourself.
And then, he beats up Garrick, but it's almost like he's just taking out his own guilt on Garrick here. Like,
he is, absolutely.
And it's when Garrick goes through the timeline of everything that's going to happen, and he talks about like any imperfections of forgery will be assumed to be because of the
very
damage.
clever.
It's just so smart and so well thought out, and it actually reads like that. The Man Who Never Was from World War II, when they dumped the body. With fake ID and fake details on it, so they think that it's something else that's happening in the war. It was an implant.
Against Germans. It wasn't.
But so it was basically, it's a dead body which they dressed up to look like a spy so that they could feed false information to the Germans. And this feels very much
the
like
way and wash up on the French beach to be found.
It's basically the same kind of principle, which I think is very smart.
So
it's how
here's a question. Do we think Garak would have blown up the ship anyway, even if Vreenak hadn't realised this was a fake? If Vreenak could have said, yep, that looks legit, I'm going to take it to the Creator or whoever.
I think this was his plan all the way along, because otherwise, because if the guy does, even if the guy does go with it, and then someone else examines it later, you haven't got any backup. This is a
Garak had already done the sabotage.
He'd done the sabotage, but I suppose he could have chosen not to detonate it.
No, he sabotaged the shuttle to blow up.
I will even go one further.
Garak had already planned that. He knew that no matter how good they faked it, under Romulan really close scrutiny, they would spot that it was a fake. There was Garak knew all along that there was no way they could manufacture a fake that would pass Tal Shiar's scrutiny.
I even think that he's gone to the trouble of, after exploded, he's pre-distressed a memory stick, basically. He's
the
got
second
it all,
one.
He's done it on purpose, so it's damaged just the right way so that it doesn't affect any of the information, but it's got a few glitches to account for it being an explosion. Very cleverly kind of done in exactly the right way, because he wouldn't leave it to chance that it might accidentally get corrupted too much in the explosion.
And let's not forget that what we know from A Stitch in Time, that Garak spent a lot of time on Romulus as a spy, and he knows how the Tal Shiar work.
Yeah. The only thing I think possibly a bit of a potential risk with Garak's plan is, what if Vreenak had contacted someone and told them about the fake immediately? But I suppose the argument there is, well, he can't, because it's too sensitive information to put over subspace. So
Garak would have blocked comms.
It's that sort of thing that he's going to go back and produce the evidence that it's a fake.
Yeah,
he has to produce the evidence to the Romulan High Council or whatever it is, the Romulan Senate, that the Federation have faked this.
I think also he's on a Federation space station, so
that is not meant to be on. He's also gone there.
No, but I'm saying comms to Romulus would be blocked from there anyway.
Yeah, but he goes to another planet before he dies, because
that was his excuse for Cestus 3 was the excuse, was what he was meant to be on. So
okay.
He hasn't gone where he was meant to go.
Right. Okay, that makes sense then. I didn't pick up on that bit. Right, I'm happy with it now then. And the Romulans joined the war, so we're at a big turning point in the Dominion War. Sisko's final sort of soliloquy then, that he can live with it. And I like the way he sort of plays with the way he says it, like, I can live with it, and I can live with it, and he's trying to convince himself that he means it.
He sort of goes, I've cheated, I've lied, people have died, it's the whole thing. And then he raises his glass and he goes, but I can live with it.
And this is why...
Computer delete log.
This is why...
Sorry.
No, go
on.
I was just going to say... this is why we love actors like Avery Brooks, like Nicolas Cage. I kind of say this quite a lot. Like, they're the actors who kind of really swing for the fences. They put in these huge performances, and when you fly that close to the sun, every now and again, you with wings of wax, and you might get burnt. But when they hit it right, when everything lines up, like in this episode, Avery Brooks's acting in this is just tremendous. Like the depth of emotion which he adds to it. I know that I said this at the beginning. It really is awe-inspiring to watch acting that good, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I don't think he can live with it. I think he doth protest too much at the end.
No, I think he can. I think he's gone. I think he's justified everything he's done. And if the Federation win the war, it will.
I think he's intellectually justified it, and he's telling himself that's good enough. But I think there's a part of him that it isn't.
I mean, it does get sort of like it dies down kind of quicker than I think it should have done. But I do like the fact that this also gives them an excuse to bring in the Romulans, and we get to like we've never had a kind of like deep dive on the Romulans. We've never had a kind of like we can. What are they like in their social time? What are they like to kind of know as a people? We want that suspicion to be there, but like what other layers have they got to those characters? So that was really interesting. I don't think they played enough with it because they even have an episode, I think, where the Romulans complain that they're being kind of shut out of things. And I sort of like, I would, if we'd had, I mean, I know they're in the last series and they want to concentrate on the Cardassian plot and the running themes of the show, but it's like, it was just really interesting to, I love it when Star Trek does that. They go like this is a character, this is a species you think you know, but you don't know in a roundabout way.
Yeah, I mean, the Romulans, really, we still know next to nothing about them.
You bring the Romulans in here, and it probably sounds strange now. There was only, quick maths in my head, 33 episodes left, which doesn't give you enough time to explore. Where it probably sounds daft to people nowadays. Like you're thinking, well, that's 3 years of TV.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But TV didn't used to work like that.
It did not.
This was the end of season 6, so we only had one season to go.
I also like, just from a production standpoint, because I think I've talked about this before, but as Elliot's alluded to there, they produced a lot of telly every single year, and as a result, there wasn't as much scope for directors of photography, etc., to play around with it. You were on a very tight schedule. You had to bash out 26 episodes of TV. But I like that there's just a little flourish right at the end that when he says delete log, it immediately cuts to black, and it's a hard cut to black. And it lets it linger on the black for a second before you fade in the production credits. And it's just, that's not how Deep Space Nine ends. Deep Space Nine fades executive producer over whatever the final shot of the episode is, and that's how an episode finishes.
This ends beautifully, though. You're right. Yeah, this does end beautifully.
They've given them the leeway to go, you can do something a little bit different at the end of the episode, and it's nice to see.
This is like in Doctor Who when Adric dies, and you kind of have that wonderful credit moment where you kind of like have the camera goes down on his crushed badge for mathematical excellence, and it's like no music and just credits playing. There are so many kind of like really nice examples of this, and I think, like you say, this kind of stands up there with those, that you can't just go to some kind of like wah, 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 music like straight away. You need a little buffer after the kind of it never before in Star Trek has our main protagonist kind of gone against Starfleet's principles so much and left us feeling okay about it, but kind of like, wow, what would you do in that situation? How do you be Starfleet when it's possible to be Starfleet? And I think it even influences Sisko after this, that I think if he had to do something like this again, I don't think he could. I think he could do it once, but I don't if he'd have the stomach to do it again. I think in the future he's trying to kind of like make up for this moment where he had to do this, but it's like it's not a nice place to be. It's kind of the War Doctor in Doctor Who, kind of in a few ways as well. Sorry to keep on with the Doctor Who metaphors, but
it's the ultimate sort of dramatization of, do the ends justify the means? And
they do.
Sisko thinks or says that.
There is one more thing I would like to go back to in this episode. With the Romulan senator, what's his name?
Renak.
And Renak justifies everything I've said about the Dominion War.
He does. Yes. He says, "You're the man."
I did think when we saw that moment, I was thinking it's like it is. There's no other captain who has, like in Star Trek. You've got obviously the great warrior which Kirk was known as. You got the Great Diplomat, which Picard was known as. But they kind of earned their achievements as they went. Basically, Sisko starts out on our story becoming the emissary of the prophets, and then he becomes all these other things. He does start this war. He's responsible. Like he's right in the cornerstone of history in a way.
James,
none of the
others. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
He said it. Sisko
I
did
quoted
start
it.
This war.
I quoted it. Well, no, he was part of starting it. I didn't say it was his fault, though. I said he started it.
It is his fault. He said, let's go explore the Gamma Quadrant that we've been told not to explore.
Yeah, because the bullies have said don't enter here. You should listen to the bullies and damn all the speeches.
We're not doing this again.
Everyone in the Alpha Quadrant knows that Sisko is the man who started the war.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was trying to defend all those poor people over there living under the tyranny of the Dominion.
Right. We will wrap up there then for now. Next week, we're going to go back and look at Inquisition. And we're also, do you want to tell everyone what we're also doing, Dr.
Because it's my birthday next Tuesday, so it'll be the day after. And we're going to actually, I've also got an interview that day, so fingers crossed for that. A job interview. But anyway, that's beside the point. Yeah, so I thought it'd be really fun to do something a bit different. And there have been several actors from Star Trek who appeared on both Cheers and Frasier. Obviously, they were both Paramount children, and so on the same lot. So... I
just wanted to point out, Cheers and Frasier were actually holodeck programs.
Right, let's do. Oh, for Christ's sake, just go and do the meme. I thought it was actually stopping for something real. Anyway,
Star Trek is real.
Anyway, oh jeez, I've got so little concentration span at the moment as it is. I'm voice. Yes, so I thought it would be really fun to pick out some episodes of Cheers where an episode from an actor from Star Trek had been on there. And I was thinking we could do a few different ones, but then I thought there's a 3-parter. So it's about an hour of TV with all 3 parts together where Kate Mulgrew comes in as the love interest for Sam. She's a political bigwig and tries to change Sam, and he kind of goes along with it. And there's like that usual love triangle, which they always manage to create with Sam and 2 other women. In this case, it's with Diane and with Kate Mulgrew. And it's just a really great hour of Cheers. And I thought, as I say, a bit of a fun way of doing something different for my birthday. And I love Cheers and I love Star Trek. So it's 2 of my great tastes that taste great together.
There we go. So we'll be doing that next week. In the meantime, you can get in touch with us. We're at RetrekPod on Twitter X. We are retrekpod@gmail.com. We're all over the different social medias, including Elliot's Retrek Model Studios on YouTube.
So I'm really behind on these.
Did I release the show after last week's episode?
I think you did.
I think I did. So I was showing off one of the special effects I'm off to be doing on the Impaler, where we ought to be doing some mist. It's going to be hard for me to put a video out because I'm busy working on the prototyping electronics and writing a lot of code, which doesn't work right in videos. But something will be out when I've got it all together to show how all the electronics will work together.
Fantastic. And Dr. Squee, what have we got on the Dr. Squee show?
Just advertise King's Toy Box. I know you haven't got anything new, but check out some of the other videos.
King's Toy Box on YouTube. Yeah, there's some videos, various different toys, bit of Dungeons and Dragons. Have a look at it.
Awesome. The Dr. Squee Show, we are having such a good time. You 2 gents joined me this week to talk about the first of the new Doctor Who specials for the 60th anniversary, The Star Beast. Oh, it was a great time. And we're doing again this week. This week, I'm joined by author Anna Stevens. Or is it Stevens or Stevenson? I always get this wrong. Anna Stevens, I believe it is. Sorry.
I get it right. Otherwise, you might not be joined by her.
Do you know what? I'm going to check my phone. Sorry, I'm so rubbish with names because I messaged her. Anyway, we're going to be talking about The Great Blue Yonder, which is coming up this week from Doctor Who. Anna Stevens. Yeah, sorry, I thought it was. Pardon me, Anna. She's a great author behind the Godblind trilogy, as well as having written for Marvel with the Valkyries and other stories. So yeah, we're going to be talking about. It'll be really interesting to not only talk about the episode, but also get a writer's perspective on
absolutely
on it. So that's going to be a good time. And then for the third one, just to give a bit of a sneak peek, a bit further ahead, I'm going to be joined by my old friend and colleague from Gallifrey Stands, which we're reviving for these Doctor Who specials. Paul G is going to be joining me for the third one, and maybe another guest.
Excellent.
And 7 to 8 sw20radio.co.uk, or join me at drsquee.com or youtube.com/drsquee, or on Facebook. It's going to be at noon on Sunday when we're going to be doing the live video talking about this week's Doctor Who. Sorry.
Excellent. So thanks for trekking with us this time, and we will see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Goodbye.
LLAP and drag off.
Fascinating.
Bye.